Hello everyone. Blender 4.5 the LTS release is out. So this is a big milestone and I just want to read the change logs step by step. Let's first go into the animation and rigging. Okay, let's click it. So what we have, let's read rigging. The bone viewport display mode can be overridden per bone. Deprecated constraints, Python, rigid body have been removed. The driver's editor now has separate transform snapping settings from the other animation editors, meaning snapping can be toggled independently. Shape case. A simple duplicate shape key operator has been added. A new operator, update from objects, updates shape key data with the positions of selected object with matching names. The vertex groups. In edit mode, assigning vertex weights via the vertex group assign button in the properties panel now respects auto normalization. When auto normalization is enabled, the other vertex weights will be automatically adjusted to achieve normalization when possible. Additionally, to make auto-normalization easier to manage in that situation, a checkbox for the auto-normalize setting has been added below the weight slider. That's a very cool feature. Let's go into the animation. The select grouped operator in pose mode now has 4 more options: children, immediate, children, parents, siblings, which is in line with what edit mode already had. Playhead snapping. It is now possible to snap the playhead current frame indicator to elements visible in editors with a timeline. Those editors are the graph editor, top sheet, timeline, NLA, and video sequencer. The video sequencer already had snapping functionality to strips, which is now contained in this more generic snapping. The elements that can be snapped to are frames, seconds, markers, keyframes, and strips. Of course, not all editors can show all these elements. If a setting is enabled, but an editor does not show the element, no snapping will happen. Snapping can be toggled while dragging the playhead by pressing Ctrl. Cool. Copy global transform. The copy global transform add-on now supports keying sets. This is limited to built-in keying sets. Custom keying sets are absolute in the sense that they fully specify which properties of which object bone to key, while the copy global transform operators always work on the selection. Let's go in the user interface. The available option of the insert keyframe K hotkey in the 3D viewport is now always included even when no animation data is available. This helps to keep hotkey assignments for the menu items remain the same. The operator grab keyframe jump has been deprecated and replaced in key maps with screen keyframe jump. The latter now supports all functionality that the former had, combining that functionality in a single operator make it easier to set up key maps. It is now possible to take screenshot for pose assets. For more info, see the user interface section. Okay. The 4.5 version received less animation improvements because the previous one, the 4.4, had tons of improvements. So let's go into the EV viewport. This has some good improvements. The shadow terminator A shadow terminator BS was introduced. This allows to remove the self-shadowing artifacts on low polygon geometry. As you can see, shadows now are almost perfect. The reverse Z, a new algorithm, has been implemented to reduce the depth buffer artifacts caused by long view distances. Cool fixes. Fix shadow acne issues using quantized geometric normal. This can slightly modify the shadow in some files. Light leaking caused by a large source of light have been improved. This can make some surfaces darker than they were in previous version. Nice. Performance. Texture loading performance has been improved. Very nice. Startup performance has been improved. Very nice. Shader compilation is now multi-threaded by default on a platform that benefits from it. A new user preference setting was added to choose between multi-threaded and sub-process compilation. That's even nice. And let's go in the more nice things. The Vulkan Blender 4.5 is the first version of Blender that fully supports the Vulkan API. Vulkan is here. The popular backend is now on par with OpenGL. Added support for OpenXR, Subdivision, USD, Hydra, and more. Performance has been improved significantly compared to previous releases. Cool. Linux with NVIDIA requires drive version 550 or higher on some systems. The fallback to OpenGL does work. OpenGL is still the default in Blender 4.5 LTS. Users are encouraged to try Vulkan by enabling it in preferences. Okay. So there is a quite big support. On Linux with AMD GPU Mesa version is recommended. This 25.3 Qualcomm drivers. This okay. Limitations. Virtual reality using Vulkan has performance issues. For virtual reality, we will recommend to use OpenGL. Vulkan backend cannot handle huge meshes, 100 million vertices. That's bad. Vulkan has different limits compared to OpenGL. These limits are controlled by the driver and vendor specific. Changing drivers could increase these limits. All textures should fit inside the GPU memory. Vulkan has different limits compared to OpenGL. These limits are controlled by the driver and vendor specific. Changing drivers could increase these limits. That's depends if it's good or not. Navigation and selection. Objects that are not market selectable no longer affect selection and auto depth. This improves working with semi-transparent surfaces. GPU-based subdivision. GPU-based subdivision is available using Metal and Vulkan. Some performance figures Susan 6 subdivision levels and the improvements are good. Okay. So the EV engine and the viewport has received quite significant improvements. What else? Let's see cycles. Cycles, okay. Adaptive subdivision. While the feature is still experimental, several improvements have been made that bring it closer to being production ready. Okay, support previously missing features. Attribute subdivision, smooth UV subdivision, motion blur, modifier subdivision levels are now ignored. Multi-threading to improve performance, reduced vertex and triangle count when no subdivision is needed. Very cool. Pump mapping, improved pump correction. The new correction avoids washed out areas near the shadow terminator, preserving more detail from normal and bump maps. New filter with input and on the bump node. This default to 0.1, while higher values like 1.0 may be used to emulate a bevel-like effect on sharp edges in textures, like a procedural checker texture or pixel art image with closest filtering. Custom cameras, in addition to the built-in cameras type, perspective, orthographic, and panoramic, it's now possible to implement custom cameras using open shading language. This can be enabled independently of OCL shading, but requires hardware support and is therefore currently limited to CPU and OptiX devices. Okay, next one is the GPU rendering. NVIDIA, the minimum driver version required for OptiX has increased to 535 point and above. AMD, there are known stability issues in Blender 4.5. These are being worked on together with AMD to resolve in a future release. RDNA 2 GPUs have rendering artifacts in volumes on Windows. HIPRT has stability issues that can lead to crashes while editing objects in the viewport. The Intel side now, GPU hardware ray tracing does not work on Ubuntu due to incompatible TPP versions. There is a message saying that the installation of packages is required even when the package is installed. The recommendation for this case and in general is to install the Intel driver from the Intel Launchpad repository following the Intel client GPU instructions. Be sure to install the package, this package, okay? When more than one Intel GPU is present and used for rendering, there may be crashes. A solution to this is already in Blender 5.0 Alpha and planning for Blender 4.5.1, with the root cause to be fixed in a future Intel driver release. That's pretty cool features for cyclists. The core. Okay, the core not so many things. Big Indian support deprecation. Blend files saved by Blender from a big Indian platform will trigger a warning when opened. Linking and library overrides. Linked IDs can now also be relocated if they are not dependency of any other linked data. Path templates, okay, and other Blender on Windows now shows a crash pop-up with recovery options. Dependency grab building is slightly faster, up to 80%, when there are many data blocks. That's very nice. Okay, let's see in the bug fixes. Oh my goodness, look at the bug line. There is so many. Let's check the numbers. The animation and the rigging. 54 bugs fixed. Nice. The asset system. 30 bugs fixed. The core. 8 bugs fixed. The grease pencil. 65. That's tons of bug fixes. Modeling. 39. Nodes and physics 62. Pipeline and I/O 50. Platforms and builds 6. Python API 70. Render and cyclists 38. Sculpt, paint and texture 24. User interface 64. VFX and video 23. Viewport and Eevee 65. Eevee got a lot of love in this version. Okay, I think this was the most important parts of Blender 4.5. maybe the pipeline, the USD import, they added more options like animated camera properties, yeah, skeleton, rest poses, okay. There is the compositors, okay. I haven't touched the compositor, the node-based compositor. I haven't touched it yet. I hope sometime in the future I have the time, but not now. The modeling general, snap to cursor operator now supports rotation. Oh, that's actually very nice. Okay, that's for today, guys. Thanks for watching. To be honest, this video was just to make my English more accessible, and I'm doing this video just to make my English accent more fluid. Okay, that's for today. Thank you guys. Have a nice day. Bye.